Good evening, I'm Anton Savage and you're very welcome to the brand new series of The Apprentice, You're Fired. With the words, "You're fired," still ringing in his ears, we'll be talking to the latest ejected apprentice, and with the help of unseen footage and a celebrity panel, we'll be getting to grips with this year's set of new recruits. We were told in tonight's show, by the man himself, by Bill, that he had selected the 16 brightest candidates that he could find. Guys, an impressive bunch? There's a lot of no's. Well, it seemed that they were a bright and intelligent lot, and they were definitely full of modesty, but they all had their eyes on the competition.
Now that I've met everyone, I still do think I'm a strong candidate. I'm not threatened by anyone.
I can see certain personalities that I'm not really going to glue very well, and that is David Cashman. His game plan is to just shy away from responsibility until the end, but I'm not going to let him do that.
Will is okay. I mean, Will, he's the pretty boy of our group, you know, good-looking fella, good young-looking boy. He has to realise that there's older guys there with a lot more experience.
I think the strongest players are... It's hard to tell at this early stage, but I think I'm definitely up there with them.
Sarah's going to be the person I could potentially see myself clashing with, and purely because she can say things very straight to the point, and it's going to be for me to make sure that, you know, I don't take it personally.
I have yet to kind of make a judgment on Michelle, because I know a lot of the girls have said a lot of things about her, as in, you know, she's only here for the look, because she is a very good looking girl, we're not going to deny that, but I think there's probably a lot of bitchiness around that.
Well, Michelle she has a body that I think every girl in the house envies. She's absolutely amazing. She has beauty and brains, because she was fantastic in the brainstorming as well today.
I think Caroline is probably the weakest of our group. She'll probably be the one out of all the girls that will probably get walked over the most.
Yeah, Caroline is going to get walked on by you, Tara, presumably. To analyse this year's new batch of candidates, we're joined by a panel, one of whom was an absolute favourite from last year's show, Geraldine O'Callaghan. We also have a man who knows everything about what consumers want to buy and what they should be buying from the Irish Times Price Watch column and from the Ray D'Arcy show, Mr. Conor Pope. And the man responsible for tonight's task, the Chief Executive of the Carlton Hotel Group, Michael Carney. Geraldine, given that you have more experience of what it's like to be part of that 16 than almost anybody else, your view of this year's bunch?
They're definitely very feisty and very cocky. They seem to be overconfident, a lot of them.
Were you not cocky your year?
Yeah, well, I think we were confident, but they just seem to be a lot more cocky than we were. I don't know, I just can't wait to see the rest of it, though. It looks juicy.
Well, they were cocky partially in this one because they were given a relatively simple task. They were given a bunch of vouchers from the Carlton Hotel. They were given 2 shopping centres, one Blanchardstown, one Dundrum, and basically all they had to do was go out and flog the vouchers. Well, it would seem that that task was a little too much for one salesperson.
Both of you are very experienced. Both of you are in leadership positions in your job. And I didn't see one piece of leadership. I don't think I have any alternative other than to say, Cathal, you are fired.
Understood. Thank you, Bill. Well, he's the first man to leave the house, but he's decided that he's going to grace us with his presence. Please welcome Cathal Heaps. Cathal, how are you, sir? Have a seat. Cathal, before we get into any of the major stuff, can you explain one thing? Every other Cathal that I've ever met is a C-A-T-H-A-L. What happened to your T?
Oh, that one's pretty easy to explain, actually. Certainly wasn't expecting that question to start with, but I lived in the States for a number of years when I was just after I was born until the age of about 4 years, and the Americans couldn't handle the T. Now we tried, well, I'm told we tried to explain a couple of times that it's a silent T, but that the whole Kate Hall thing. So my father said, I'm not going back to Ireland. He's not going to be called Kate Hall for the rest of his life, so we dropped the T.
Well, we just wanted to make sure that when the captions went up, people didn't think it wasn't that we couldn't spell. Listen, having looked back at it, do you think, yeah, I probably didn't do the best I could have?
I definitely didn't do the best I could. I think stage fright definitely got to me. You know, we're out to talk to a limited number of people before we go in there about what we can do and what we can't do and who we can tell. But I think the one thing everybody said was, for the love of God, don't be PM in the first task. You know, you're a 50-50 chance, almost, you know, a sort of going out in that case. And it wasn't the game plan. I think in the earlier interviews we were asked, do you have a game plan for this? Is there any way you're going to tackle this? And I said, I don't really have a game plan. I just don't want to be PM in the first role.
Well, that was one of the things. Geraldine, you haven't watched it. Did you think that Cathal got bullied into being PM?
Definitely, yeah, because you kind of put across that you didn't want to be PM, and then all of a sudden, whoops, there you were PM. So I think from the beginning you should have stuck up for yourself a bit more.
Having done it, Conor, the actual task itself, should Cathal have done better?
I don't know. I think, as you say, Cathal was definitely bullied into it, and it was a schoolboy error to allow yourself to become the project manager in the first task. Having said that, you, like virtually all the other contestants, did something that I love about The Apprentice. You come out on the very first couple of minutes, you're saying, I'm the best salesperson in the world. I'm just so brilliant at everything. And then within 15 seconds, the whole bunch of you turned into a crowd of clowns. There was one fantastic moment in it, when you were in Blanchardstown Shopping Centre, and you were clearly completely swamped by what was going on, and you just said, I think I'm just going to go... and trailed off into the distance. And you went, what are you just going to do? Let us know. So, you know, from that moment, I'm afraid I got the impression you were a dead man walking.
Well, Cathal, we'll give you a chance to defend yourself at greater length, but before then, want to have a look back at some of where it may have gone wrong for you.
Quickly, I mean, look, we know it's a sales task. Yeah. Who is in sales?
I'm in sales. It all went wrong when I was shoehorned, for want of a better word, into the task manager role. The team leader should be somebody who's not on the ground. They should be keeping the eye on all the balls, and that's why I'm saying a salesperson should not manage this task.
I'm telling you that if the team leader isn't on the ground tomorrow, then we're in serious trouble.
I'll be the project manager. Done.
I'm not shaking your hand, Jeff, because I don't know if you're the right man for it, and I'm being very honest about it.
I don't think Cathal was bullied into the position. We've got a direct sales task tomorrow, and we need to be managed by a sales manager.
If the consensus here is that a sales manager should manage the task, then I'll do it. If it doesn't matter, then I'd rather Barry did it.
I have no problem going into the boardroom the first week, but he will come down on fellas who don't, you know, come up to the mark.
Listen, if nobody else will take it, then of course I will, because I don't want to go into that boardroom either and say that I shirked it.
That's it. I am going to change from the norm. So, Cathal, you will be leading the girls. And maybe we'll be in some confusion.
I think the book will have more impact.
I'm from Blanchardstown. I'm sorry, but it's not going to work.
I think the €50 price point for a gift card.
Cathal, I think you need to make the decision because you're PM.
We're going to go with the cookbook.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I thought Cathal as project manager started off very well, but he's just been engulfed by a tsunami of girls' personalities, and I think he's lost the plot already.
To be quite honest, we haven't had any sales. I don't think it's anything to do with our sales technique.
Try for the next 10 minutes for an appointment. If you don't have an appointment, I wouldn't cold call. I'd come back here.
Now, I think that we would all be in agreement that we might spend another half an hour just to see if we could get 1 or 2 appointments.
3 hours sitting in a car. How could you have let that go on? I mean, it drives me nuts. You are busy selling.
So I'm a Cork man myself. I'm completely out of my depth. We can't talk to you about the Carlton Hotel, can we?
Not in a minute, but you will in a minute.
Super.
You didn't make any decisions. You didn't sell anything. Cathal, you are fired.
Understood. Thank you, Bill.
Oh, my God.
Whoops, a daisy. Oh, sorry.
It is going to be tough for Cathal to go through the rest of his life with people going up to him in the street and going, whoopsie daisy. Cathal, was the difficulty that you got shoved into being PM, or that you got shoved into being PM and then got handed a different team and the team wasn't as good?
I'm still between two minds on that one. I think being shoehorned into the PM role was a little bit of a coup. I think that had been pre-decided.
The guys at
before, I think there was 1 or 2 of the guys, yeah, definitely had got together and said, this is one we want out of here, and he's PM. And they wouldn't shake hands. We had actually shaken hands on Barry as PM
yeah, and why didn't you stick to that? Because Barry said, I'll do it. Why didn't you say, grand, you're bolted to it?
We did. We shook hands on it. There was a number of us shook hands on that, and it was actually Dave Cashy led the chase with, hold on a second now, no, I'm not happy with that. We're not having that. And it got to the stage in the conversation where we were running out of time to come to the decision, and I basically said, well, I can't go into the boardroom tomorrow and have not stood up to this, because I'm being put in a position where I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. So that's what happened there.
Well, there was one bit in it, I mean, it was a thing that, Michael, you'd probably be best placed to answer. There was that discussion with the girls and with Cathal about what sort of prize they should give, whether it was the Prosecco, whether it was the free spa treatment, whether it was the cookbook. And there's that bit where I think it's Tara says, or was it Tara or was the other Niamh, says, you have to go ahead and make the decision, you're PM.
Yeah.
And you get this muttered thing of, oh, sweet Jesus, he's gone with the cookbook. What's the best thing to go with for selling vouchers? Is it books? Is it free wine? What sells these
I think it's you have to look at the pitch and see what works best on the pitch. The thing I was astounded about, that nobody used the seed money to do anything with it. That was one area. Look at where they were, sitting in the car for an afternoon. You know, thankfully our sales team wouldn't have got any great ideas out of that, I would imagine. But you know, that's not the way to go about it. They should have used the seed money to make some sort of an attraction.
Does that not happen at the start every time, that they sort of forget that they have the seed money?
No, they should have used it. It was pointed out to them on a number of occasions to get something, and I think within this task, Cathal showed a trait that Bill really disrespects, and that's indecision. You were very indecisive. So I think it was the indecision that just maybe made Bill tick.
When it came to the task itself, Cathal, your selling, did you specifically decide, I'm not going to sell, I'm going to run everything? And if so, how did you let them sit in the car for 3 hours?
There must have been 15, 20 phone calls between 12 o'clock and 2 o'clock and 2:30 to say, will you just get back here? We are actually selling here. You haven't done anything out there. You haven't knocked on any doors. You haven't met people face to face.
And what did you think when they gave you the line that said, well, we haven't made any sales calls, or we haven't made any sales, but it's nothing to do with our sales technique?
Well, I mean, it's an interesting one, but again, she did mention that there were warm leads, and this was before lunch, you know. So I wasn't out there. I don't know what was going on. I saw it today, and it's horrific to watch them sitting in the car and kind of bickering and rolling eyes at each other and all that. And, you know, it was kind of symptomatic of what was going on with the overall task itself.
Well, we're joined each week by Mairead Fleming, who is our recruitment expert from Brightwater. And Mairead, in your opinion, I think the phrase that Brian had in the boardroom, or maybe it was Jackie, the phrase that said that Cathal was swept away on a tsunami of women's personalities. Was he just overwhelmed by the girls?
There's two types of a leader. There's one that leads by example. You didn't do that. You didn't sell. You didn't make a sale. So that was a downfall straight away. And the other type of a strong leader is really somebody who can direct, give clear instructions and get respect from your team. So you didn't do that either. So the girls were probably looking, going, hang on a second, he's a pushover. They really needed clear direction and clear instructions. And maybe you should have got in a car, gone back and pulled them out of the car and brought them back into the Blanchardstown shopping centre, where there was 20,000 people waiting for you to sell to.
But Mairead, in Cathal's defence, Brian did say that first speech that he gave, the one when they're all in the hotel room getting prepped to go out, what was the phrase? He would have followed him into the D-Day landings. It's not a bad start.
Yeah, but look, he set himself up for to fall straight away, unfortunately. You know, you'd spoken about, I'm an area sales manager of a pharma company. And when I saw that, I kind of sat up straight and I thought, gosh, he's one to watch. I had you pitched to go the whole way, quite frankly, with those skills. But immediately, you let yourself down. It's a real pity, because I think you probably could have gone a lot further.
Well, part of Cathal's difficulties may have started right at the very start of the task. Cathal, remind us what your degree is in. You know where this is going. Tell us the degree.
Engineering.
Engineering. Well, with that in mind, have a look at this.
The best moment of the whole thing is going to be the stand. I'd say it'd be like they put some sort of Tweety Eye music in the background, like some sort of carry-on film.
Why, what music?
Because we were like, you know that music, do-do-do-do-do-do, because we were literally running and going, no, because it was that way. And all you could see was Brian standing in the corner going, oh, no.
What's the hook at the top?
Oh my God, the video of that is going to be ridiculous.
Stop. There are people standing on the thing, people pulling it up. Where are the clips? Oh my God, it's upside down. How do we turn it over? We'll try doing that again. And Brian's looking on, kind of going. Took you 2 hours to put up the stand. And you have an engineering degree. I'm sorry.
Well, Cathal may have somewhat undersold himself, because your degree isn't just engineering.